Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. In today's video, I'll be using Paper Rose Studios Betty's Garden 6x6 paper collection. I also have the coordinating Bright Basic 6x6 paper pad and the Betty's Garden die cut pack. And I did have two of the die cut packs so I could easily make multiples of the same card. I will be using some card sketches for inspiration. The first sketch is from Cards TV. It's sketch number 18. And if you are interested in any of the sketches I use in this video, I share all of that information on my coordinating blog post. That link is provided in the description box below, or you can simply head over to KristieMarcotte.com. For my first card, I selected 3 pattern papers. The polka dot and the small chevron are from the Bright Basics collection, and this really fun floral design is from Betty's Garden. I'm layering all of them on some dark blue cardstock. For my cardstock layers, I generally add an additional 1/8 of an inch. So the blue polka dot paper is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and the dark blue cardstock for the background is 4 1/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 of an inch. I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. Now I'll add 3 of the lovely floral die cut pieces. This card will feature 2 smaller blue flowers and 1 large pink and white flower. And I did put foam dimension on the back of the pink and white flower. I'll adhere all 3 of the flowers onto the pink chevron pattern paper. I'll be adding the sentiment Happy Birthday. And this is from Paper Rose's Embossed cut apart sheets. It's the Bright Days Ahead sentiment collection. The colors match beautifully with the paper collection. There is my finished card, and I did make a total of 4. For the other 2 cards, I'm using the same pattern paper. I just switched the background paper and that narrow strip going across the card. For card design number 2, the card sketch is from Sketch Saturday. This is number 721. This card features one of my favorite pattern papers. I love the black background with the contrast of all the bright florals. For the narrow strip on the left side of the card, I'm using more of the pink chevron pattern paper, and I did put a strip of double-sided tape on the back side to adhere it to the card. I'll layer the background on some bright pink cardstock, put ATG tape on the back, and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. All of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. I used a stitch square die to cut out the 2 small squares, and I did use some white shimmer cardstock for those. I'll adhere them in place using some glue. Next, I'll add a couple of the die cut pieces. I have a large flower, and I'll glue that down on top of the 2 squares. And I'm also adding a fun bird to the right of the flower, and I did pop up the bird using some foam dimension. For a sentiment, I'm using more of the die cut pieces. I have a beautiful girl, and I did pop that up with some foam dimension, and I'm also adding the word hello right above it. Before adhering the word hello down, I am adding a scrap piece of cardstock on the right side. Then I'll put glue on the back and adhere it right above the word beautiful. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. For the other 2 cards, I used different pattern paper and die cut pieces, but I still followed the same sketch design. I love all the bright and cheerful colors in this collection. For card design number 3, the card sketch is from MFT. This is number 579. For the background, I'm using a bright green chevron pattern paper, adding a strip of the black and bright floral paper that I used on the previous card. And I'm layering everything on some black cardstock. I'll put some ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. For the narrow banner that's on the left side of the card, using more of the pink chevron pattern paper, cut a small fishtail at the bottom, and I do have some double-sided adhesive tape on the back side to adhere it in place. For the 3 small circles that are indicated on the sketch, I'm using some of the floral die cut pieces, and I do have foam dimension on the back of each of them. I'll remove the release paper and adhere all 3 of those flowers in place. For a sentiment, I'll be using more of the die cut pieces, putting the words hello and lovely together, and I do have foam dimension on the back. I'll adhere lovely in the lower right hand corner and put hello right above it, shifted off to the left. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. I did keep most of my cards fairly simple. With all the beautiful colors and designs, I didn't think the cards needed anything else. Now moving on to card design number 4. The card sketch is from Sketch Saturday. This is number 712. I selected a green and white pattern paper for the background with lots of little branches, adding a green polka dot stitch circle die cut. For the narrow strip that goes across the card, I'm using more of the bright green chevron pattern paper, this time with the chevrons going up and down. Before adhering it in place, I will put some scrap cardstock pieces on the very right and left side, and I'll adhere it down using some glue. I'll layer the background on some dark green cardstock, put some ATG tape on the back, and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. For the 2 rectangles that are on the left side of the card, I cut out one from white cardstock and the other from the same dark green cardstock I used for the background layer. I'll adhere those 2 pieces together and add them to the left side of the card. Then I'll add 2 of the die cut pieces, selected some of the leafy branches that match the pattern paper, and they are 2 different shades of green. I'll adhere the lighter green down behind the darker green branch. For a sentiment, I'm adding Best Wishes, and this is another die cut piece. I'll adhere it in place using some glue. Now on the card sketch, it has a bow on the right side of that narrow strip. I will be adding a bow to the card, but instead I'm gluing it on the 2 branches on the left side. For a final finishing touch, I'll add a small banner in the upper right hand corner, and I cut this out of the same dark green cardstock. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. 2 cards are very green and the other 2 cards are mostly pink. The sentiments on the pink cards are from the embossed cut apart sheets. For card design number 5, the card sketch is from MFT. This is number 614. This is a great sketch for featuring several different pattern papers. I'm using the busiest pattern paper for the background, this really fun floral design, and for the 3 smaller pieces, I selected some tone-on-tone patterns. I have a pink and orange chevron and the blue polka dot. I'm layering the 3 smaller pieces on some white shimmer cardstock. Then I'll put adhesive on the back of the 2 larger pieces. Before adhering them onto the card panel, I'll flip one of them upside down. I want to get the placement correct so the right side of those 2 pieces are all in line. Then I'll adhere the orange chevron piece down, followed by the blue polka dot. And finally I can add the smaller piece with the pink chevron. I'll layer the floral pieces on the same white shimmer cardstock, so I'll have just that little bit of shimmer around the outside edge. Then I'll layer it again on some bright pink cardstock. Add my card front onto a card base. Now I'll bring in several of the die cut pieces. I have 3 flowers and this adorable little pink and blue bird. I put some foam dimension on the back of 2 of the flowers and also the bird. And the blue flower, I'll use some glue to adhere. For a sentiment, I'm adding Happy Birthday, and this is another die cut piece. I'll adhere the sentiment on the top of the blue polka dot paper with the very end of the word birthday sitting on the pink chevron. Then I'll add 2 flowers on the polka dot paper, the pink flower on the pink chevron, and the bird on the orange chevron above the sentiment. For a final finishing touch, I'll add a few glitter stickers, and this is something from my stash that I've had for years and years. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. They're all slightly different since I used different pattern paper for the background and assortment of the chevron and polka dot papers for those smaller pieces. Now here's another look at the 20 cards I made using Paper Rose Studios Betty's Garden 6x6 paper collection and coordinating die cut pack. And to stretch that pattern paper a little further, I also used their Bright Basics collection. Both collections are also available in the 12x12 size, so if you prefer the larger size, that is an option. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links provided in the description box below. Paper Rose is located in Australia and they do ship their products internationally, but you can also purchase their products here in the US, and I do have links for both locations in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.